fascinating, isn't it? How people agree on that something is a thing. Like the colour green. We all agree the colour green is green. Can we guarantee each other experiencing the green in exactly the same way? You might say, yeah, sure, because that's a visual thing. But does your green, a particular shade of green, look exactly the same as to you as it does to me, and vice versa? Chances are it might not be exactly. Depends. That there are what's that thing is called a technochromat, and people can see a tiny bit more range in colours than the average. I think my colour spectrum perception is pretty damn good. Other things, not so good against another person. Visual imagery, very good. In terms of creating imagery. Not as good as it used to be in the days where I had more time to experiment with visual imagery. In a way of self-entertainment, I would imagine visual things going on in tune with music. So I'd be playing my own music video, really, in my head. Which is why I never really did like music videos. It's like, that's not right, that's not how I imagine it. And you listen to a tune and make my own story up with it, so on. It's interesting that some people don't have a mind's eye in this way. And it makes it very difficult for those who do to understand how do you process and utilize information if you're a person who doesn't, and vice versa. So, doing an individual that we know of doesn't have a mind's eye according to her own admission. Aphantasia is what this is called, with no mind's eye. There's actual name for it. It's not recognised as a disorder. Is just a different way of processing information. So I was asked in a Twitch live stream, by this individual, aphantasia, with not a word I commonly come across, aphantasia. Talking about, can you see the back garden? I think it was that. Are there colours? Do you see colours? Is there movement? If I wanted to add more colour, yeah, sure. Is there movement? Sure. I could use my imagination, and there's wind, and it moves the branches of the trees. And if I want a bird to fly by, I'll see a bird fly by. It doesn't have to be a specific bird. It's just, it doesn't have to be in incredible detail either. You just more concept driven. And that's the thing as well. I think people with aphantasia might think that people with hyperphantasia have very good imagery. A mind's eye might be thinking, can you see exactly? Do you have photographic memory? No. It's sometimes I can conjure up details of very, very detailed, very kind of accurate, or not necessarily accurate, but detailed images. I actually get some enjoyment out of playing with images in a self-entertainment way, but also a way in which it's, I don't know, it represents concepts, I guess, thought processes as well. So, yeah, if I want to add sound, the bird flying by can be tweeting. If I wanted to add smells in the air, maybe there's a barbecue going, you've got the smell of the meats cooking, other things, toast, bread, and that going on while there's a bit of a breeze, and you can feel the warmth of the sun. You're out there, you can see a blue sky, sun beaming down. Or I can imagine being at a beach. I look down at my feet. I'm at the waterfront, where the water is tide's coming in a bit, and I'm barefoot. I can see the ocean water coming through my toes and the feet. Feel the sand warm underneath my feet. Hear the ocean waves. Smell the ocean air, and just feel the warmth of the sun on my body. And conjure that up in my mind's eye, I guess, or imagination. But a mind's eye, when people say a mind's eye, I equate lots of other things. It's not just the imagery. I equate things with the imagery. An apple. Picture the apple. Nice rosy red apple. And biting into it, you've got the crunch, the taste. Imagine the taste. See an orange. You might smell the orange as well. So I looked at iflscience.com. Aphantasia, everything we know so far about having no mind's eye. It was only, and this is very recent that this has been discovered, about 2015, it says here, that Professor Adam Zeman, call him Zeman, I think that's the right way to say it, first came up with the term to describe the peculiar condition of having no mind's eye, because it's only peculiar to those who do have a mind, yes, and it's relatively rare amongst, more people have a mind's eye than people don't. He called it aphantasia, and before it had a name, many who resonate with the description had no idea others process information differently. Now, almost 10 years on, Zeman has published a review of everything we've learned so far about this mysterious phenomena. And this article was published March this year, 2024. So, over 50 years of scientific studies are included, covering a wealth of findings about the 1 to 5%. So, if you have no mind's eye, you're in 1 to 5% of people who are thought to be aphantasic. Aphantasic. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. 1 to 5. Coining the term aphantasia has unexpectedly opened a window on a neglected aspect of human experience. Zeman said in a statement, "It is very gratifying that people who lack imagery have found the term helpful." It's interesting to me, for somebody who uses imagery a lot to represent my thoughts and concepts and other things, but some aphantasia people can still be really good artists, visual artists, doing things like art, like drawing characters, painting, colouring characters, designing and showing their own creative flair on the things that they create. It's very difficult for somebody to understand, well, do you just see some idea of that in your mind? No, they're not seeing it. They concept it. They don't see it as a mind's eye sees it. I guess that's the thing. So, yeah, it says, to quote, Zeman said in a statement, very gratifying that people who lack imagery have found a term helpful, while a substantial surge of research is shedding light on the implications of aphantasia. So, hyperphantasia, visual imagery, and aphantasia, lack of visual imagery, meant mind's eye. Both of them have the pros and cons. The people who have visual imagery, it's almost impossible to understand the experience of someone with aphantasia. I'll put a link below to this article I'm reading. A vice and vice versa for 43-year-old Mary Wathan. The light bulb moment came when she was speaking to other parents about playing role-playing games with their children, and it became apparent that everyone else was able to see images in their minds. This was totally mind-blowing to me. I just cannot understand what they really mean. Yeah, I mean, it is very difficult to explain as well to somebody who's aphantasia. How would you explain that? Because it's not like actual seeing, but you see it kind of within yourself. You don't see it in your field of vision either. It's in your mind. But that's very ambiguous description to somebody who's got no mind's eye. But it's a more correct, less ambiguous thing but for somebody who has it, who has the ability to conjure up images. Now, I have imagery. I am mildly synesthetic. Synesthesia. Synesthesia will create light anomalies that are actually in your field of vision. At least my form of synesthesia does this. And certain sound combinations done at the right speed, tone, will conjure up like neon light anomalies in my field of vision. I've always known, even from early on before I knew what it was, I always knew it had to be something going on in my head. It wasn't real. Exactly how I knew that, I don't necessarily know. But then going on with out of curiosity, finding out and seeing something about this, and they said there was nothing to worry about. Doing a bit of research and using certain sound combinations, they found out I'm synesthetic. It's not detrimental to me. It doesn't get in the way of my everyday life. Just interesting. So, where was I reading this? Mind blowing. There's people out there. I don't understand what they mean. They see visual imagery. Where is the image? Where is this image? It's in your mind. The same way whatever else is in your mind is in your mind. The image is in your mind. And the other things, maybe you have an auditory dialogue when you're reading a book, talking about that recently. Or you have some concept of a length or something. I can do that. I can have no imagery, but have an idea of how long and high something in a direction in three-dimensional space without using an image. It's the concept. So I can do that. So other types of processing are more lenient towards that kind of thing, I guess. You get the concept, but not the concept thinking rather than actual seeing concepts about a visual thing rather than seeing the visual thing. And you got the concept, you got the imagery to represent the concept, and the concept to represent imagery as well. But you don't have to have the imagery. I guess for at least for these people who have aphantasia, is trying to understand this. Maybe I'm close, maybe I'm way off in understanding, but it's an interesting quirk of human neural connectivity, different ways in which different people process information differently. And yet we all agree on these tags, these labels we got to describe things out in the world, but we all perceive them or process things a bit different here and there. Some people process things very different. Yeah. But despite the widely different way in which those with and without aphantasia may experience the world, Zeman stresses that the consensus among experts is that this is not a disorder, and does not mean you have no imagination at all. That's very evident. As the research has progressed over the last decade, we've learned that there is subtypes of aphantasia. Some people may have difficulty recognizing faces. While others don't. Some have issues with autobiographical memory. In other words, the memory of your own personal history. In small number of people with aphantasia, it appears to be linked with traits common seen in autistic people. So you have a very small, relatively number of people with aphantasia, and you cut that down again within that bubble, a small number of people in that with autistic. Maybe some traits that can be linked with autism, and it doesn't necessarily mean they are autistic either. Some things that are linked and like. And an inability to visualize scary images means those with aphantasia may not react as strongly to spooky stories. It may also be an advantage in the scientific world, whereas hyperphantasia is, in brackets, they got a super vivid visual imagination, may predispose someone to succeed in the arts. One recent case report even describes a woman who was seemingly able to reverse her aphantasia. Now that's interesting. That's really interesting. Reverse her aphantasia by taking magic mushrooms. Because magic mushrooms, LSD, is well known to cause visual imagery that isn't perceived. It can be affecting what you're seeing, but the effect on it isn't really what's happening to the object you're seeing necessarily. But that's being created in your brain. Now, this is not the experience of people who generally have a mind's eye. They don't. I mean, I can imagine a little character running around on this desk. If I was to make some little tiny cartoon character. But it's not like I really, really see it like the rest of the desk I'm seeing right now. I can project it on there, I guess, but it's not even a projection, more of a, you see it in your mind's eye. You're seeing the desk and everything in your mind's eye while I'm seeing the desk. Anyway, sort of. I don't know, it's hard to describe. If I'm to try and position myself as somebody who's listening with aphantasia. So, this was interesting. Find this out about. Find this is a thing. I've heard it's a thing for a long time. I never really looked into it. until relatively recently, when a person says, a certain person on the internet is saying she has no mind's eye. There are some undeniable downsides. No, I skipped a paragraph, sorry. Magic mushrooms. It's able to reverse aphantasia by taking magic mushrooms. Now, if you want to reverse your aphantasia, I do not recommend magic mushrooms. Make sure you're safe in whatever you do. Just doing the right research and be safe of whatever you're doing. But without resorting to mind-altering drugs, the world of visual imagination is not a total no-go zone for people with aphantasia. Research suggests the majority of them still have visual dreams. Yes, I believe they do. Now, your brain is generating your visual imagery anyway when you open your eyes. There's no light that enters your skull inside your brain. It's completely dark in there. Photons hit your eye, stimulating the optic nerve that sends a message to the brain to fire off neurons that will create the imagery of what you experience. It's all created in your brain anyway. Having access to that with your eyes closed is probably, can be akin to imagination, I guess, conjuring up things, but it's never going to be as accurate as your eyes open and just seeing anyway, because you have a constant stream of stimulation then when your eyes are open and your brain doing its thing naturally, rather than you intervening, stepping in and saying, oh, my eyes are closed, but how about making this up, making that? So, again, that's interesting. They still have visual dreams. The idea that having aphantasia is not always a disadvantage is something that's become clear to Wathan. Quote this person, I'm a really good written and verbal communicator. I think that's because I'm not caught up with any pictures. Yeah, I'm interested to I wonder how many men have aphantasia versus women, and that's not to be sexist. There are differences in brain structure in the presence of estrogen and in the presence of testosterone. Testosterone creates a brain that tends to have good visual imagery, cortex density comparative to estrogen, and there's going to be some passover. You're going to get some exceptions to that rule, but it's one of those things in which, according to the science, a brain influenced by the presence of testosterone, the visual cortex tends to be denser. Auditory cortex in a brain in the presence of estrogen tends to be denser than the brain in the presence of higher levels of testosterone. Spatial awareness seems to be higher as well in testosterone than it is with estrogen. One has skills over the other and vice versa, and different ways of processing, so on. Women will use more words to describe something typically than men do. And again, that's not the age-old all sexes women never shut up kind. It's because they have let's say if they have a larger CPU for processing the auditory stuff, then maybe, in a very extremely layman term way, men typically go, oh, shut up, I'm trying to think, trying to concentrate. And there's whole books written on why men don't listen. It feels like for women, men don't listen enough, and women can't read maps. I don't like that necessarily, but from every built-up sexist thing and myths about men versus men can't multitask. I hate that. Nobody can really truly multitask. Multitasking, there's no such thing. What you're doing is switching between different tasks quickly. Some people can do it quicker than others. Yeah. I'm really good at written verbal communication. I think that's because I'm not caught up with any pictures. You alleviate one type of processing without the interference of another. So I just focus on the power of the word. She explained. Woman, right? I'm also a deeply emotional person, and perhaps that's my brain's way of overcompensating. Don't know, who knows? That's them. That's a quote from them. Who knows? But there are some undeniable downsides, and Waven particularly wishes she were able to picture her children's faces when they're not in front of her. Overall, and even beyond pure scientific interest, continuing this decade-long tradition of research is important because it highlights that not everyone's imagination works the same way. Typically, the attitude of people when they relate to the word imagination, they think of imagery. It doesn't have to be. You can imagine a smell, imagine a certain touch, a temperature, a cold, a sound, taste. Can you imagine the flavor orange right now? You imagine the texture of a segment of a orange. Biting into it and feel that it bursts and the juice on the tongue and tasty, and swallow. Now I want an orange actually. I've just done the thing that the cinemas do to myself. Go to the foyer and buy this, buy that, buy some tasty stuff. I can't imagine oranges being sold at a cinema. Orange flavored fruit gums or something, yeah. But, we need to ensure we cater for everyone and encourage other ways of learning and engaging. Yes, definitely. My trouble at school was very evident. I didn't process information really the same as most of the class, although some of the kids who I befriended, they were kind of a lot like me and I was like them. We felt like we didn't fit in anyway. The study is published in the journal Trends in Cognitive Sciences. I'll put the link below. This is fascinating. So let's have a look right now at... I sent a message this morning to this website where if you remember, I got the wrong thing sent to me. This horrible wicker twig art thing, rather than a nice pristine glass. So I said, any Thursday is fine. I will know later Friday if there's any more days available over the next week. But I always have Thursday off. Good morning. Thank you for confirming. We will request next Thursday for you. So this Thursday coming, someone's going to take that heart-branchy, horrible, disgusting thing away and replace it with the vase. And maybe I'll just do a short video and say, hey, the vase has come. I don't have just yet the soil, aqua soil that's going to go in there, or the sand, or the driftwood. Anyway, but you know, each step of the way, I'm going to be doing what I can to share this journey with you. So you're going to see the glass vase empty as it is. Then you're going to see the things put in there. You're going to see this evolve. And if it's going to be as beautiful and interesting as I think it's going to be, and again, as I'm talking, as I'm saying this, I see that in my mind's eye. A aquarium, there's sand at the bottom, there's the driftwood, there's the plants growing. And if I look up a bit, there's the floating plants on the surface as well, like duckweed or whichever, the floating surface plants. Maybe there's some bubbles going up if I want to do that with the imagery. What I mean is like concept. I use imagery to represent concept so that it feeds back in a more crystallized way of that concept. At least that works for me. Yeah, I want it to look this way. And I see the way. So I want to copy what I see in my mind's eye relatively close enough. The idea, concept of it. And once it's done, it's, hey, presto, and it looks beautiful in my mind. I don't know if it's going to be as nice visually. Need some LED lighting to light it up as well. I might put that on a timer for the system to have so much light and ambient normal light coming through the window as well, and so much darkness. There's a YouTuber called Father Fish. He leaves his, he's in the industry, professional, sells fish and all this. He has the approach of a no filter aquariums, very natural ecosystem base. Some of his ideas I agree with, other ideas I think, no. There's not necessarily any hard and fast rule to run these aquariums. There's plenty of ways not to run them, and plenty of ways it will harm the occupants. But that's just human ignorance and stupidity. He says he leaves the lights on. Fish don't sleep. I disagree. There. I'm sure fish will have some kind of cycle. Just because they don't have an eyelid, they don't sleep either. Thank you for watching. Take care. This was an interesting take on a number of things, and certainly the aphantasia, bars thing, concepts of images and all the above. Yeah, thanks for watching. Take care. I look forward to doing another video soon. Bye.